Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. 3 cyclists have been struck and killed on our city's roads so far this year. Tonight, hundreds turned out for a memorial bike ride to honor the latest victim, 59-year-old Vlad Zotov, who was fatally struck last Monday while riding on Bayview Avenue. Our Dale Manukduk joins us now near the site where he was tragically killed. And Dale, that's where the memorial ride ended tonight.
That's right, Kelda. These cyclists installed this memorial bike about 100 meters south of here along Bayview Avenue. We take you closer, but it's pretty unsafe to do so at this time of night. Toronto police actually had to shut down Bayview Avenue in order for this memorial to take place. As you mentioned, hundreds of people showed up, and even a few of them knew Vlad Zotov personally.
We're going to be lining up along Spadina.
Hundreds gathered at Matt Cohen Park to honor an old friend.
He was a remarkable human being. He was a great guy.
Last Monday, 59-year-old Vlad Zotov was struck by an SUV while riding along the Bayview Avenue extension near the Evergreen Brickworks. Zotov was rushed to hospital where he died from his injuries. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children.
Thank you all for being here to remember Vlad.
Fraser Chapman is president of the cycling club that Zotov belonged to.
Smiling all the time, so happy to be out. He was always at rides 5 minutes early, like just big smile on his face. If he's sitting in the parking lot by himself and you'd roll up, he'd just be like, hey! He's a wonderful person, a sensational human being.
Ghost bikes are bicycles that are painted white and placed where accidents happened that either killed or seriously injured a cyclist. Jeffrey Burkarich builds the memorials and says it's already been a rough year.
This is the 6th memorial I've had to do in the Greater Toronto area, 3rd for Toronto. It doesn't get easier, and this year's just starting, and cycling season hasn't even gotten full swing.
The cyclists rode to where the fatal collision took place, installing the memorial atop the metal guardrail along Bayview Avenue.
This is just sort of a really important community event that's brought a lot of different folks who ride for a lot of different reasons together for one cause.
Vlad was very much driven by the beauty of his surroundings, and that's what draws so many of us to cycling.
Cycling advocates who took part in the memorial ride are hoping that the city will take a look at Bayview Avenue.
Speed limit has been looked at before, and perhaps that needs to be addressed again. There is cycling infrastructure in the area, but for road cyclists, it's unsafe if you want to carry speed and exercise.
Kelda, exactly what led to this fatal collision that took the life of Vlad Zotov is still unclear. Police are still investigating. They've laid no charges at this time. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Dale. That's our Dale Manukduk live for us tonight. Police have recovered the body of a 14-year-old boy who drowned while swimming at Woodbine Beach on Sunday.
Our understanding at the time is that a 14-year-old was out swimming with a friend of his. They were enjoying the nice weather. They decided to go for a swim. At some point, they both began having trouble in the water. One of them was able to make it back to shore, alerting others and nearby passerby to his friend's plight.
Emergency crews were called to the beach around 6 o'clock last night. Police say before they arrived, a passerby jumped into the water and tried to help the teen, but was unsuccessful. The boy's body was recovered from the water this morning. The union representing some 3,000 striking academic workers at York University has reached a tentative deal with the school. The strike began nearly 2 months ago and has led to many classes being canceled. Workers will now vote on the deal. Until that happens, though, they remain on the picket lines. And that's where our Chris Glover was today as news of the tentative deal came down.
Moments of joyful celebration on the picket line at York University after roughly 3,000 academic workers striking for more than 7 weeks finally learn of a tentative deal.
It's been grueling. This isn't like a cakewalk. Today it's sunny and we're having a little bit of fun, but we need that. We need to be able to do that to kind of support ourselves mentally and emotionally. It's not easy getting harassed and yelled at by people. You coming? I got you.
Striking workers blocking entrances throughout the lengthy job action, trying to gain attention for their cause, leading to volatile moments, even now after the tentative deal has been struck.
I'm a parent. I support the workers. But it's very frustrating. I'm frustrated at how long this has taken to resolve. I'm frustrated at all the money that we have paid in tuition that we're not getting back. I'm frustrated that it's taken me half an hour to get through this picket line to pick up some stuff at my kids' residence.
Yeah. And it's so annoying, the horn that's honking right now.
As if it's going to do anything, I don't even know.
So would you like to speak? I'd love to talk to you. We have all the time in the world to talk.
We check in on the disturbance at the front of the line. Okay, how often does this happen?
It's disappointingly often.
Worker Zachary Dark struggles to gather his thoughts.
Parents, you know, it becomes hard to hear yourself think sometimes. People don't understand labor history.
How grateful are you that there's this tentative deal and this could finally be over?
I'm proud of what we fought for. You know, this isn't going to change whether or not I'm on the picket lines. You know, if the fight keeps going, I keep going. An upset person in their Mercedes isn't going to stop me.
The mother causing the commotion has been dealing with the delays since contract negotiations broke off in February.
We are here to pick up our children, and they're just blocking the way. This is wrong.
Members of CUPE 3903 taught more than half of the classes at the university. Exams not impacted by the strike got underway last week, but many classes have been canceled altogether. The university told students this past Friday those affected will be eligible for a tuition credit for next year.
I definitely think there should be a full refund. You know, these students come here to get their education. They're spending, you know, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars.
Many of Adam Kennedy's classes have been suspended or canceled. That they've reached a deal. What do you think of that?
I think that's good. It's about time, you know. It's been a while, you know, and a lot of universities, they don't have to do this kind of stuff, but York does.
York University dealt with a strike in 2015 and again in 2018. So you've been through 2 strikes at York University now. What do you think is the reason for that happening?
I think the biggest reason is that the administration doesn't have their focus on the students, right, and the workers, right? Ultimately, like we've always said, like this campus runs because of the students, because of the workers that keep it going, right? But the administration doesn't seem to have that focus and that priority.
The university wouldn't do an interview, but when pressed on that frustration from the Students Association, York sent CBC Toronto a statement saying it's proud of our long record of leadership in offering among the very best packages of wages, benefits, and other supports to its contract faculty, teaching assistants, and graduate assistants compared to other institutions across Canada. The union says the tentative deal totals up to a 14.8% wage increase over 6 years, the past 3 and the upcoming 3. How do you feel about the last 7+ weeks, being out here day after day, walking in this circle day after day?
This isn't something anyone enjoys doing, but with York and the history of York, we keep being pushed to this point.
Workers are expected to vote on the agreement later this week. Are you going to vote yes?
I'll decide later.
It's exciting because we've had to work so hard to get where we are at this moment. So I think there's a lot of appreciation and a lot of pride for all the work that members have put into this moment.
I've talked to a lot of the workers here, and many of them have said they haven't seen enough details to know for sure. But there does seem to be a little bit of a reluctance to necessarily say if they're going to vote yes. What do you think of that?
I think we'll see in time. At the end of the day, it's in the membership's hands right now.
Chris Glover, CBC News.
Welcome back. A proposed class action lawsuit has been filed against Shoppers Drug Mart on behalf of current and former Shoppers Pharmacy owners. It alleges the company imposed unsafe and unethical corporate practices on pharmacy owners to increase profits. This lawsuit comes after a CBC investigation that revealed corporate pressure led to some Shoppers pharmacies billing for unnecessary medication reviews. Angelina King has more.
The crux of these allegations centers around how Shoppers Drug Mart corporate practices allegedly interferes with pharmacy owners' ability to provide care to their patients safely and effectively. And the big claim is that that could lead to them having their licenses suspended or revoked because it puts them at risk of breaching their ethical obligations. Now, it's important to know that all pharmacy owners at Shoppers are practicing pharmacists themselves. Now, the lawsuit alleges that these corporate practices include things like putting quotas on medication reviews, cutting hours to support staff, and naming and shaming the owners that don't meet certain performance targets. The suit alleges that all of this puts owners in a conflict of interest when it comes to their ethical obligations to patients versus obligations to the company.
When you put policies on the associate owner that require the associate owner to breach their professional obligations and the code of ethics of the College of Pharmacists and regulatory and professional standards at the risk of losing their franchise, losing their livelihood, losing their ability to earn an income and provide for their families. You place them in a conflict of interest.
The claim also alleges that some owners, including the lead plaintiff, had their agreement terminated or agreement not renewed for speaking out against these practices.
He was distraught when this happened. It was a very difficult time in his life, and he just wanted to, I think, seek justice and seek redress for the pain and kind of the difficulties that many associates are going through.
Now, this all comes after a CBC investigation that revealed some former Shoppers employees believed that the company was sort of taking advantage of Ontario's medication review program by pushing staff to unnecessarily bill for some of these reviews, which are paid for by the government. Now, at the time, the president of Shoppers Drug Mart told us that there is no pressure and that there's no quotas or targets, but pharmacists and documents showed otherwise. Now, when it comes to this class action, Loblaw, the company that owns Shoppers Drug Mart, has yet to file a statement of defense. But in a statement to CBC News, a spokesperson told me that the lawsuit has no merit whatsoever and the company intends to vigorously defend it. Now, the suit does still need to be certified by a judge, and it could take a couple of years before that motion is heard. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
A man has been charged with attempted murder after a Toronto police officer was stabbed last week. Police were called to the College and Lansdowne area Friday afternoon for a person in crisis. While attempting to apprehend a man under the Mental Health Act, an officer was stabbed. The SIU said police then attempted to taser the man. Now, when that didn't work, the injured officer shot him. Both the man and the officer were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 27-year-old Gabrielle Escairo is now facing 10 charges, including 2 counts of attempted murder. The Ford government is adding 300 weekly GO train trips to routes throughout the GTA. Doug Ford was in Milton today with details on what people there can expect.
We're adding an additional morning rush hour train to Union Station and extra afternoon trip back to Milton Station.
The additional trips on the Milton line, as well as on the Lakeshore West, Lakeshore East, and Stouffville and Kitchener lines will begin on April 28th. Metrolinx says it's the largest service expansion in more than a decade. Ford said his government remains committed to bringing all-day, two-way GO service to Milton, something local leaders have long called for. Another part of today's announcement involves changes to Up Express service. Metrolinx is adding non-stop service between Union Station and the airport, which will save riders a couple of minutes. But it also means those who use the Bloor or Weston Up Express stations will have to wait much longer between trains. Lorenda Redekop explains.
The Premier presented it as a good news announcement today.
For those traveling to and from the airport, every second Up Express train will soon be non-stop between Union Station and Pearson Airport.
But people who catch the Up at Bloor Station don't see it that way. People who use the Bloor and Weston stops will have to wait up to 30 minutes for a train instead of 15, starting April 28th.
It's going to be a long way to wait before getting to the airport, which will make a difference in between taking the train or eventually taking a taxi. So hopefully they're going to keep 15 minutes.
This flight attendant is among those who will be affected.
It's very disappointing. I think it's, we really depend on this, and there's a lot of airport workers that use it.
Well, the train line was initially started as a fast link between downtown and the airport. For some, it's turned into a commuter service.
It's a bad news for commuters in Toronto. The Up has become an integrated part of transit in Toronto, with lots of people getting on and off at Dundas West and Weston, and the fact that the government's going to take that away from them just hurts transit in the city.
A new schedule shows those express trains will be 2 minutes faster, 23 minutes instead of 25.
A 2-minute shave off of time for probably a fairly small proportion of overall users of this train doesn't seem worth it for me.
This Weston resident says she only moved to the area because of the easy train service downtown. And she says it's how developers are now pitching new condo projects as a selling feature. Plus, she says the train is popular, especially at rush hour.
It's completely filled with people, to the point where people are on that yellow line, sort of pushing by to find a space on the platform. And I can only imagine it'll get worse if we're only having a train every 30 minutes.
A spokesperson for the transportation minister says increases to the Kitchener line will add stops at Bloor and Weston en route to Union, though Up Express trains run more frequently with longer days. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
You are looking at a live shot of Toronto. Mostly clear skies tonight, currently sitting at 10 degrees. Let's go to Colette Kennedy now with a look at your forecast. And Colette, a beautiful Monday after a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Coming off a pretty good weekend and then to start off the week this way as well. So if you enjoyed the weather, all right, shall we do it again? And the answer is we shall. Let's do it tomorrow for Tuesday. We're going to have sunshine again, quite a bit of it. High pressure still kind of anchored in place. And then on Wednesday, we do have another visitor in the form of a system that's going to move in and bring some rain showers. So we'll see some changing sky conditions. But also on Wednesday, we've been benefiting from temperatures above seasonal. On Wednesday, they drop down just a little bit below, at least with the daytime high. And so a slightly cooler feel also when you couple that with if you get some wind off the lake and plus a little bit of rain shower activity. But it's pretty short-lived there in terms of that cool down. Wasn't cool today with those daytime highs. Some record-setting heat through the U.S., but that warm front not quite making it to southwestern Ontario. Still the warm spot, Windsor, and then lots of mid-teens to go around. And this will be the next playmaker coming our way. So there's that warm front in the sector where they're having some record-setting heat. We're still under that influence of high pressure for Tuesday, so that's very stable air. And then here we are Tuesday night into Wednesday, the winds will start kicking up in southwestern Ontario, and then through the day Wednesday, we'll get one band going through. I know it looks like a big dry slot, but actually we'll see some scattered showers kind of develop in that area through the rest of Wednesday afternoon. For southwestern Ontario, as that line comes in, actually a chance for some thunderstorm activity there too. So lots to be watching. And then into Thursday, yeah, we get a break, but not really, because the next system is kind of on that one's heels, and so that brings in the chance of showers again later Thursday and into Friday as well. So I did mention, wind's not really a problem tomorrow. Now, where they're off the lake, it'll feel slightly cooler, but they will be lighter around the GTA than they were today. But there will be some stronger winds in southwestern Ontario, and that's as that system comes through Tuesday night into Wednesday, especially if we get any storms there. Overnight temperatures where you see they're milder, yeah, a little bit of cloud cover there, plus the direction of the winds and the lake. Otherwise, we've got some 4s, 3, 4s, 5s around the area. And then tomorrow's daytime high with that sunshine back up to 15 degrees. So a great looking Tuesday there. Wednesday, there's the cooler number. It's not cool at night, however. And this upcoming weekend, I know it's days off, but it does look like we'll get back into a high pressure pattern. So good things to look forward to besides tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, class is in session at Mark Garneau Collegiate in Thorncliffe Park, and it's happening in the kitchen. A group of students is learning how to prepare sustainable meals that will go on to feed the school's large student population, ensuring no one goes home hungry. Metro Morning host David Common made a visit to the school as part of CBC Toronto's Communities in Focus initiative.
I'm a hospitality and tourism teacher, and I oversee the student nutrition program. This is what you're doing then, David. You're going to put one in here, right in the middle. Hopefully my role is really inspiring students. They're not all going to go into hospitality, but I want them to have an appreciation for how to cook. Of course, I want them all to be able to go home and make a meal for themselves, make a snack for themselves. I want them to understand about sustainable food. I want them to understand about food waste, and I want them to understand where their food comes from.
Food is something that bonds everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak, which country you're from. Food can unite anyone. The act of like preparing a dish just to like serve it to someone, just seeing the looks on their face, it's a good feeling.
I have been cooking for a very long time, ever since I was 9, because I'm planning to start my own catering company in food industry. And also, like, cooking has been there in my family, like, it's passed on from generations.
You're doing double duty here. You are both a teacher in this classroom that is also a kitchen, but you're also feeding hundreds of students. How much money do you have to feed those students?
We have one predominant grant that comes from Toronto Foundation for Student Success. Ideally, we're fundraising a little bit. At the end of the day, it breaks down to a little north of 80 cents per student per day.
How do you do that?
Creatively. And I think that comes into showing students how not to waste anything. We have students today making ricotta cheese with milk that might have been on the cusp of the date going past for a best before date. We turn that into ricotta cheese.
A lot of them are coming from lower income families and stuff like that. All these students, hundreds of students, are getting food that they would otherwise not get.
We don't want anyone to go home hungry.
David and the Metro Morning team will be hosting an event in Thorncliffe Park tomorrow evening, asking residents how the neighborhood can move into the future together. Those conversations will be featured on Metro Morning this Thursday. You can listen on the CBC News app and on CBC Radio 1. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.